Morata, il destro, bene per Dybala, sinistro, gol!
Lewandowski, Ball rein damit in die Mitte, Schieber mit dem Kopf, Reus, quer, Linie, Tor,
Golazo de Cristiano Ronaldo para el Real Madrid.
Il est passé Lucas, il est passé, il va tenir ce ballon, le remettre dans la... Quel but extraordinaire d'André Di.
Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host Kris, as I always am, and I'm joined by the full crew again. Making his return, it is John. Welcome back, John.
Kris.
Nice of you to come back, sir.
Yes.
Trust all is well this week.
Yeah, all is fine this week. Did my little stint midweek as well, and on the breakfast pod for you to make up for it.
Oh, naturally, and thank you very much for that. And of course, I have Tom. Good evening, Tom.
Evening.
And I have Drew. Good evening, Drew.
Good evening.
I thought you dropped off the face of the earth there, Drew. You were very quiet. Right. Okay. Well, good evening to you, gentlemen, and good evening indeed, or morning or afternoon to our listeners, whenever it is you are listening. We have a packed show as always. It's week 20. We have much to cover. So let's get straight to it. And we'll start, as we always do every week, with our roundup of the Mighty 90. Okay, this week, John, you get the honour of going first, seeing as you are returning. So it's a Mönchengladbach update for you, and your time begins now.
Well, it's not been a great week for the teams that I support, but Gladbach have helped me out a little bit. It's not brilliant, but it's better than the other results. We got a 2-2 draw away to Augsburg. It was exciting first half. Augsburg having a couple of chances, but it was actually Gladbach who took the lead. Raphael on 34 minutes. Would have been a few more, were it not for Marwin Hitz, who was in goal for Augsburg. Made some really, really good saves. More on him in a bit. Second half, Augsburg came out. It was very end-to-end, but they took a quick fire lead. 2 goals. First from Finnbogason and the second from Kayubi. Helped by some poor defending, though, it must be said. Bit of a story of our second half of the season, really. 2 minutes later, though, we're back on the score sheet to level things up. Fabian Johnson getting on the end of a Nico Evodi ball through. And it finished 2-2. Could have been more goals at the end. Oscar Wendt firing just wide. Granit Xhaka had a late chance as well, and Finnbogason for Augsburg actually hit the post in the last few minutes. But yeah, 2-2 draw, so probably a fair result. The worrying thing is that we're winless now on our last 5 away trips. We've only won 3 away all season. But we're up to 4th in the league on 36 points, just 3 behind Hertha, so still in the running for the Champions League. We've got a midweek game at home to Stuttgart this week. And a little stat on Raphael, who is his 3rd season in a row now that he's posted double figures for both goals and assists, and he's the first player to do it in the Bundesliga this season.
Oh, true professional, like it, good stuff. Thank you very much for that. Right, now, Drew, I wonder. I shall say nothing more. It is time for your final update. Is it therapy or is it good news? Your time begins now.
It is fantastic news. It's finally happened. The poor streak is over. We traveled to the Stadio Galdenwaard to play FC Utrecht. They actually won 2-1 on the road. By extension, it's automatically a good result. But Sebastian Haller opened the scoring in the 4th minute, so personally I thought it was just another bad day at the office. But Toye Valina leveled matters on 19 minutes, and then Dirk Kuyt scored in the 44th minute, which ended up being the winner. And that actually puts him to be the oldest player to score 15 goals in Eredivisie since Fas Wilks and Abi Lenstra in 1959-1960. Generally, the result is pretty fair. Utrecht did have their chances, though. We actually had 2 clearances off the line from Michel Kramer and Sven van Beek in the 87th and 91st minute, so we actually could have had a point taken away from us. But we're a little bit back on track now because everyone ahead of us, Azad Alkmaar, Utrecht, the aforementioned Heracles and Tis all lost on the weekend. We actually jumped right back up to 3rd, but we're still 29 points adrift of Ajax. But again, as I've been saying, we can't finish 1st or 2nd, but if we can nail down that automatic Europa League qualification, I'll be very, very happy. So things looking up and up, but we'll see where it goes.
Are you finishing early?
I am.
Drew,
Sorry.
Can't get the staff. Not only early, 18 seconds early. Drew,
Yeah.
this is terrible, terrible. See, you go...
Efficiency.
German efficiency. You go and get that win, and then you don't want to talk about it. Goodness gracious me. Okay, come on, Tom. Show him how it's done.
Pressure now.
Yeah, Salzburg update. I think it was right in saying it was quite a big game at the top of the Austrian leagues. So let's see how it went then. Your time begins. Your mighty 90, Tom. Yes, Tom. Mighty 90, Drew. Your time begins now.
Yeah, it was a big game. We played Austria-Vienna, or Austria-Wien, whoever takes your fancy. Normally the title-deciding game. Maybe not this season, but how did it go? Well, Keita and Soriano both started, first time in a while. Very much needed. And Oberlin kept his place up top as well, the young Swiss forward. Vienna gave the ball away really quite early on, and Berisha in the midfield laid off Keita and it's put Salzburg up 12 minutes into the game, so that was 1-0 quite early on. And then just 5 minutes later, Vienna score. Kayoda, that guy, the youngster Nigerian, been scoring for them a lot this season. Got in the back in it, bundling in a cross from a free kick in. Lazaro then had a cross deflected off Oberlin, and Keita smashed another deflected effort, and that went into the back of the net to make it 2-1. Oberlin was again involved, finding Soriano in the box, who shot Hadzic, or Hadzic, whoever you want to play it, and could only palm it into the net to make it 3-1. Venuto had an effort for Austria-Wien that hit the bar. Minamino finally, though, put the nerves to rest, hitting the fourth goal, laid off by Soriano on the right-hand side, and he shot across Hadzic into the left-hand side of the net, and that was how it finished. We open a 7-point gap now between us and Austria-Wien, which is quite a title-deciding sort of thing normally. However, there's another team in Austria called Rapid Vienna who are doing very well. They just beat Grödig in a great match to 3-2, which means they're level on points of us still going into next week's match. So, one to watch.
Very good, very good. That's what I like. See, there you are. Drew, I'm going to make an example of you.
Efficiency.
Going to make an example.
Austrian efficiency.
Austrian efficiency. Okay, right. I've set myself up for a fall now because it's my turn. So watch this go spectacularly wrong. It's a Lorient update then for me, and my time begins now. So this week Lorient travelled to Troyes, as Danny will call them, the Stade de l'Aube. It was a 10,326 attended game. Two changes for Le Meleu. There was Balagu and Juno, my little friend there. He went in up front. They were the changes for Ndong and Mukanjo, who missed out. So first start for the away side from Lorient. The pressure down both flanks, and they were very much on the front foot from the off, which is what we like to see. The pressure was rewarded. Jimmy Cabo, the new signing, his low cross was turned in by Majid Waris after only 3 minutes. It was a perfect start to the game. Further chances came and went. We should really have been at least 3 up. Barthelme and Waris were guilty of some pretty bad misses in truth. Should be more clinical. Just before the break, Benjamin Lecomte made a superb low save down to his left to keep Lorient on front. The second half saw heavy Troyes pressure, with Lorient relying on the breakaway attacks, and Lecomte was forced into further excellent saves too, in particular to preserve his clean sheet. Malumbu and Le Goff brought on to help get the Lorient sort of side across the line in the second half, and Camus was sent off for a late tackle for the visitors. For the home side, as the visitors claimed the win and indeed maximum points. So hooray for Lorient. We are flying once again. Good victory. It might only be Troyes, but it is a victory nevertheless. Le Meleu now sit 10th in Ligue 1 on 37 points, and it's a trip to Corsica next week to face in-form Bastia in Ligue 1. There you go. There you go. You see, it can be done. We're not going to let this drop, Drew. We're just going to keep bringing this up now. I'm just going to
keep doing it.
He's a rule breaker, ladies and gentlemen. Rule breaker. Write in. Send in your letters of disgust. Right. Okay. Let's move on then. That's our Mighty 90s for this week. As usual, give us a shout if there's anything you want to know about our respective teams. Some big midweek games coming up, so plenty to stay across. Right, we'll move on then, and we'll take a trip into the stats, as we always do. It's this week's World of Football. Okay, then let's have a look at this week's statistics. We'll start as we do most weeks with the Premier League. 21 goals, 3 clean sheets, 0 red cards. That's a change. 6 home wins, 1 away win from the 8 games played. Of course, a couple of games missing due to the Capital One Cup final. In Liga, 24 goals, 4 clean sheets, 3 red cards, standard. 3 home wins, 3 away wins from the 9 games. In La Liga, 25 goals from the 6 clean sheets from the 10 games. There were 3 red cards, 2 home wins and 6 away wins. In Serie A, including tonight's action, which John will bring us up to speed with, there were 18 goals, 7 clean sheets, 1 red card, 5 home wins, 2 away wins from the 10 games. And finally, the Bundesliga, 24 goals for this weekend's games. There were 9, of course. There was 3 clean sheets, 1 red card, 2 home wins and 3 away wins. So that means a total this weekend across the Big Four in Europe, or across the Big Five, I should say, 112 goals, 23 clean sheets, 8 red cards, 18 home wins, 15 away from home from the total of 46 games. A couple of stats I always like to pick up on from the sort of year-to-date summary. I've picked out a couple this week that I want to highlight. 4 total goals. The Premier League is currently out in front for this one, 683, just ahead of 675 in La Liga, 669 in Serie A, 655 in Liga and 545 in the Bundesliga. Don't forget the Bundesliga do have slightly less teams, so there's a little reason for that. Clean sheets per game. The average, well, the highest is actually in Liga. I don't know what that tells us. 0.43, just 1 point, or 0.01, I should say, ahead of La Liga, which is just behind on 0.42. Home wins percentage, highest home wins percentage across the Big Five is in Spain. 48% of the home teams are winning on a regular basis there. And the final one, just to sort of sweeten the palate a little bit, most goals in a game on average. The La Liga, again, is in front on this one, 12 on average. So there you go, 12 times have been the most goals in games throughout the season. Closely followed by the Premier League on 9, and then Bundesliga on 8, and Serie A and Liga tied on 7. So there you go. That's just a couple of little fun stats. We like to keep you abreast of little bits and bobs. So there we are. Let's move on then. We're going to take our weekly trips into our 4 leagues, and we're going to start with the Outlaw. It's Drew himself, and we will go to this week's Bundesliga update. Right then, Drew. Let's start with Hamburg and Ingolstadt. That's where we're going to go first. Ended in a 1-1 draw. Which of these 2 sides will be happiest and why?
I think Hamburg will be happiest because I don't think they deserve to even get a point. I think Bruno Labbadia will be actually feeling slightly lucky that even though Josip Dermic opened the scoring in 7 minutes, Ingolstadt actually had the better balance of play throughout. They did create more chances. Possession was even, but it was very, very back and forth. But Ingolstadt just seemed to be a little bit better in certain areas. But they're just not the team that can put the chances home that they'll create. They have some decent players going forward. Lucas Hinterseer, Dario Lascano, to name a few, but their strength isn't scoring goals, and we've talked about that multiple times this season. But traveling to Hamburg for a club like Ingolstadt and getting a point is a good point for them. So I think Ralf Hasenhüttl will be happy with that. Any points they accumulate from here on out is going to sort of solidify the fact that they're really trying to just avoid relegation their first year up, and I think they'll be able to do that. So I think he'll be pleased enough, but he'll probably wish he'd get those extra 2 for sure.
Absolutely. And talking about Josip Dermic, who got the goal for Hamburg, I think it's fair to say he's not exactly torn up trees, but he had a pretty unsuccessful stint. It was Gladbach, wasn't it? He went to last year. Was it Gladbach? What do the people make of his form? Because Hamburg always strike me as a side that have got a fair bit of creativity, but they don't really seem to score goals often enough.
Well, it's oh man. I mean, For me, I think he may have moved to a bigger club too soon. He did go to Leverkusen and he did go to Gladbach as well. But I think Hamburg might be a little bit more of his level. But they're not using him as an out-and-out striker. Artem Rudnev's actually started as striker. He was playing out on the left, and he's got that supply line from Lewis Holtby directly on that flank. I think that may have helped a little bit. Lewis Holtby has been playing very well this season in sort of that Santi Cazorla role. We could say that we see that sort of deep-lying playmaker that sort of orchestrates everything but does make forward runs. I think Dermich will play off that a little bit. He might get some goals. If you give him a chance, he could maybe refine that form he saw at Nuremberg a couple of years back. But I think the jury's still out, but at least he got a goal, and it's something for him to build upon for sure.
Yeah, fair, very fair. Like it. Okay, let's move on then. Stuttgart, they entertained Hanover. Now, on paper, if you looked at the two sides coming into this and you looked at the form guide and all the things that you expect, you would pretty much predict that this would be a fairly comfortable routine victory for Stuttgart. So I'm pretty sure that I'm giving our listeners a good heads up as to what actually happened. What went down?
Well, Stuttgart, they lost. Honestly, I feel like they were in such good form coming into this. What was it, 5 or 6 unbeaten under Kramny after that Dortmund lost in his first match in charge, and Hanover is sitting dead bottom of the table, most likely getting relegated unless they turn their form around. And this is not the result anybody expected, and Tom will know that I even told him to expect Stuttgart to win. Personally, it's not that they necessarily played poorly. It's that, yet again, they were wasteful. We've seen a lot of times this season the likes of a Timo Werner and Rupp, even Maxim to a certain extent. They don't put away as many chances as they should. They had 22 shots this match. 60% of the possession, all across the board. If you look at the numbers, they should have won this match, and they just didn't. Hanover took their chances a little bit better. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's Stuttgart's fault they didn't get the 3 points. It's good to see Timo Werner get a goal. They need more production from him in the final third, but I don't think they should be worried necessarily moving forward after this result, but it's definitely a little bit of a stumbling block they didn't want considering who their opponent was. But Thomas Schaff will be happy to get his first win in charge. He made quite a few signings in the winter period between the first and second half of the season. So once I think they gel a bit more, we might be seeing a little bit better performances throughout the rest of the season, but I still don't know if it'll be enough for them to avoid relegation, but time will tell.
I was just going to ask you, in a word, one word, are Hanover able to survive or not?
I don't really think so. I think the damage might be done. They have the same problem Stuttgart were having in the first half of the season. They're not terribly awful at the back. There are other teams around them that are just as poor or worse off. But Hanover, when they're not scoring enough. Pure and simple, they've only have 21 goals, and that's second worst only to Ingolstadt. But Ingolstadt have allowed 14 fewer goals. I can't really give one word, Tom. You know me. But basically, they need to shore up at the back, and they need to find more goals and more consistency throughout the 11 in their performances, and they might be able to steal some points. But I don't think they're going to avoid it.
It was longer than one word, but it was perfectly articulated.
It made up that 18 seconds, so hey.
I love that so much. Can I have one word?
Hey, but I said I'll make up those 18 seconds, and I delivered.
And you made a very good case to back up your argument, so I can't diss you for that. Let's move on then to the next game we want to look at, which is Werder Bremen. Now, these guys for me, I mean, they're third bottom of the Bundesliga. Is massive club going over the top? I don't think it is. I think they're a pretty big club overall, and they just look so poor. And they got out of jail here, a last-minute equaliser. What do you make of them? I mean, they've drawn to Darmstadt this weekend, 2-2. What do you make of the game? What do you make of Werder?
Oh, just and like you said, for a club that have in somewhat recent seasons won the Bundesliga, they've been in Champions League again, not too far away from where we are removed from now. For me, again, much like Hanover, their issue more so than anybody else is they leak too many goals. They've allowed 46 and 23. They've allowed 2 goals per match, and when you're only scoring 27 at that clip, nothing is going to happen to you. But for me, I just feel like they're Schalke on steroids, and the fact that there are moments where Werder play brilliantly, and even maybe in some of the recent performances, we've seen them look like they're improving and getting a little bit back on track. But then they put up something like this, and again, Claudio Pizarro did sort of rescue a point for them. I feel like Darmstadt will feel hard done, but honestly, it was probably Werder's. They made the problem bigger than it should have been. They outplayed Darmstadt from the first to the 90th minute. So the fact that they had to rescue themselves just to steal a point in a match they probably should have gotten all three, it sort of sums it up for me. What Victor Skripnik has to deal with his side. So I'm not sure what to make of them. But again, inconsistency is their biggest issue, as well as issues at the back for sure.
Yeah, I say a shame. I mean, I don't know whether it is a shame, but so many good players come through there, and now you look at them, it's just a mess. But hey ho. Right, let's move on to another one. Bayer Leverkusen, they had a midweek Europa League game. Is this a case of Europa League strikes back, or is this Yunus Mali is king? Because Mainz got the result over Leverkusen.
They did. I don't. Oh man, I'm trying to think of how to describe this one. Honestly, I think it's going to come down to tactics on this one. It wasn't for lack of chance creation, or it wasn't for they weren't impotent going forward or anything like that. They made a few errors at the back that caused goals. Jonathan Tah actually was not the rock solid center back he's been all season. He had a very poor performance that did not help. But also again, the Hakan Çalhanoğlu played in center midfield in this match, and he's not a prototypical center midfielder, especially against a club like Mainz, who are happy to counterattack, and they did all match. So you wonder if someone like Çalhanoğlu was playing in the middle, he's going to be looking to get forward more often than not, and that automatically leaves a hole next to Christoph Kramer where he's going to struggle to plug both gaps, if there is both gaps. Julian Brandt got the start at number 10. He didn't play well. Chicharito got a goal, but for me, this is the kind of result Mainz would want, considering that Yoshinori Muto is out for a little while. They can still score goals without him. So Martin Schmidt will be happy. Roger Schmidt won't be happy. But this is the kind of performance that I in the first half of the season I said don't be shocked if Mainz make a push for a Europa League spot. And right now they're sitting in fifth, actually tied on fourth with points with Borussia Mönchengladbach. So you never know what's possible from them. But good showing for them, and Leverkusen will be disappointed for sure, but that's 2 losses in a row for them.
Yeah, definitely disappointing, and you do wonder if maybe their focus will turn to that Europa League. We shall see. Give us the other results from the week's fixtures, or weekends, I should say.
Sure. Hertha went to Cologne and won 1-0. Bayern Munich beat Wolfsburg 2-0. Augsburg and Gladbach tied 2-2, as John said. Dortmund beat Julian Nagelsmann's Hoffenheim 3-1, and Schalke and Eintracht Frankfurt delivered to a 0-0 draw. So the table, as is now, is Bayern top on 62 points, Dortmund second on 54, Hertha third on 39, Gladbach and Mainz tied for fourth on 36, Leverkusen and Schalke tied on 6th on 35, Bremen 16th on 21, Hoffenheim 17th on 18, and Hanover 18 on 17.
And before we leave Germany, the midweek program, there is a full English Avoca, I believe they call it, an English week, as they call it in Germany. Full program. Do you want to just give us the fixtures and maybe one to pick out from both this week and indeed the next weekend's fixtures?
So all the fixtures and then one to watch out for. Got it. Tuesday, March 1st, Hanover host Wolfsburg, Ingolstadt host Cologne. Wednesday the 2nd, Darmstadt, Dortmund, Hertha Berlin, Eintracht Frankfurt, Hoffenheim, Augsburg, Bayern Munich, Mainz, Schalke, Hamburg, Bayer Leverkusen, Werder Bremen, Mönchengladbach, and Stuttgart. Of those midweek fixtures, I would actually say Bayern Munich, Mainz. I think Mainz would be looking to build on a really good showing against Leverkusen, and they've won 4 of the last 5. So, and Bayern keep rolling, and you have to hope they're going to drop points somewhere. So maybe Mainz can pull off an upset. And on the weekend, Wolfsburg, Gladbach, Stuttgart, Hoffenheim, Augsburg, Leverkusen, Bremen, Hanover, Frankfurt, Ingolstadt, Cologne, Schalke, Dortmund, Munich, Mainz, Darmstadt, and Hamburg, Hertha Berlin. And obviously it's Dortmund versus Bayern Munich. Dortmund play hosts, looking to bounce back from that 5-1 drubbing they got from Bayern Munich when they traveled to Bavaria. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yes, indeed. That should be quite the occasion. And after Dortmund's comeback victory against Hoffenheim, you'd think that they really have to beat Bayern to have any hope, let alone chance of claiming the title. We shall see. I'm sure we will be having that as a big bill for next week's podcast. So keep it tuned. Thank you very much, Drew. As as usual. Any questions, ping them Drew's way and he will deal with them. Right. He probably won't deal with them in 90 seconds, though.
I hate you.
Right, let's move on then. We're going to go across to Tom now and check in. I think there was quite a big game in Spain this week. So let's go across to this week's La Liga. Right, Tom. So there was quite a big game, as I just mentioned, in La Liga this weekend. It involved two sides from Madrid. They will be, of course, Real and Atletico. Who is happier?
Well, I will tell you. So if I'll start off with how it lined up. Real Madrid were obviously at a disadvantage going into the match. They didn't have Bale, they didn't have Marcelo, and because of the fact they sold Fabio Coentrão, let him on loan, that meant Danilo, the guy they brought in from Porto in the summer, had to deputise at left back, and he didn't have a great game. Ronaldo didn't have a great game either. He was really the guy who was going to have to bring it for Real Madrid, and he just didn't. He missed chance upon chance in the game. He had an early free kick that was parred away really easily by Oblak. Benzema then came off at half-time with another injury, so not good there. And then going into the second half is where Atletico took the advantage. Griezmann was allowed to ghost forward through the pitch and lay a pass off on the left-hand side to Felipe Luis, who instantly returned the ball, and he excellently finished into the bottom left-hand corner. Other than that, Real tried to get back in the game, but it was actually Atletico that continued to push. Saul could have had a chance to get the game at 2-0 and really kill it off early on in the second half. But Real Madrid then tried to push back. Ronaldo having a headed chance straight at Oblak. And really in the dying stages of the game, Danilo had a chance to hit it, but he just skied it wide. So really disappointing for Real Madrid. And you have to say that they have to be out of the title race now.
What would you say to those that say that this is the first test that Zizou's had and ultimately he's failed it? Would you say that's fair, or is that a little bit harsh?
It's tricky to say simply because of the amount of players that had out and what he had available. I mean, when he took Benzema off, he brought the youngster Mayoral on. And when you got a player like that playing for Real Madrid in the Madrid derby, there's not so much hope. I think that I don't think he can be judged on the rest of the season. I think it's simply going to be when he gets to bring in who he wants to bring in and make his team in the summer, you'll really see what that Real Madrid will be.
That's fair. That's fair. And we couldn't leave this game before we move on without mentioning Cristiano Ronaldo's comments post game. If the listeners haven't seen this, do you want to bring them up to speed on what he said, and then very quickly backtracked, and then kind of tried to say he didn't say at all?
Yeah. So basically, after the game, Ronaldo was saying that if he was playing with players like the likes of Benzema and Bale and Pepe every week, the people to his standard, he'd be happy enough. But playing with players like Lucas Vazquez, etc., he wasn't too happy with. And then he tried to backtrack in saying that all he meant wasn't an ability, it was to do with fitness. And now he's going saying that it didn't really mean any of it. And it's a bit of chaos. And when the player starts trying to pick the team, that's when you know there's real bad management problems.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I know Drew wants to ask a quick question, so I will bring him in as well before we
90
move
seconds.
On. Maybe. It's not gonna go, Drew. You're just gonna have to take it now.
Yeah.
Drew, go ahead.
So, okay, Tom. So, Atleti have scored half the goals that Madrid and Barca have scored, but they've only allowed 11. For you personally, do you think that this is sustainable for the rest of the season? Do you think they'll actually gain ground on Barca, or do you think their goal has to be just finishing top two, even just beating out Madrid for second? What do you think?
I think the aim is to finish above Real Madrid. First, I think they realised how good Barca are. To be honest, if I'm to predict it, I reckon you might see them close the gap by the end of the season. Maybe not overtake them, but I think there's more likely that the gap will be closed rather than Barca running away with it more. Simply because Barca could take the foot off the gas going towards the end of the season with the amount of games and fixtures they have. I actually think that Atletico are the perfect anti to the Spanish league. They they are brilliant at defending. And you can score half the goals that the Real and Barca do because they win by such a large margin. As long as you don't concede, you're going to win more games than they will, and ultimately draw games you might deserve to lose. So for me, they're the perfect La Liga teams to try and beat Barcelona because they're the complete opposite to them.
Interesting. And whatever you say, I will still never be excited about watching Atletico Madrid again.
Oh, I don't. I'm not.
Crikey, O'Reilly. Right, let's move on then. Sporting Gijón. They played host to your beloved Espanyol. Didn't start well, but ended pretty well for your boys, didn't it?
I thought it was going to be a tough match when I was going. Sporting had been on and off with their form, and it didn't start great. Carlos Castro got Gijón into an early lead, latching onto a ball in the box and smashed into the central part of the goal. And then for me, the goal of the weekend in Spain came from Bergi. Absolutely amazing dribbling that Messi would have been proud of around and across the box, around all the Sporting Gijón players in defence, and then slotted really, really calmly into the bottom left-hand corner. And then Gerard Moreno put Espanyol in the lead just after half-time, easily putting away a Javi Lopez grounded cross into an open net. Gerard Moreno was on the score sheet again, making it 3, 10 minutes later, excellently curling the ball into the bottom left-hand corner of his left foot. Castro scored again, Sporting Gijón to get them back in the match. From a Johnny cross, but then Asensio put the game beyond doubt, getting a deflected effort off Hernandez, which had turned out to be an own goal, which I was a bit disappointed about, to claim all 3 points. So Espanyol winning again, and it's really nice to see, and hopefully that will really try to get them away from that relegation zone.
Yeah, good result indeed. I'm pleased for your boys because they just seem to be finding form at exactly the right time. Good for them. Okay, let's move on to our next fixture then, and that is in the form of Betis. Now, they were playing Rayo Vallecano, who are a side I always enjoy because you just never really know what you're going to get from them.
They're the Sampdoria of Spain.
They are a bit. So, goals, I'm assuming?
Yes, they were indeed. And there was a brace for Betis, and I bet you can't guess who the scorer was for Real Betis, and it was that man, Ruben Castro, the man who scores pretty much once every 2 games for them. His record's quite impressive, and there's more on him a bit later within our questions. But he scored 2 headers, the first one coming from a cross that came in from a Molinero, and then the second one was from a Molina corner that got Castro his 12th goal of the season. So he was on 10, now 12 on 28 minutes, and that's where it stayed up to half-time. So Betis looking comfortable, but that man Paco Gemes, the Real manager, you really never know what he's going to do. You never knew what he was going to do against Sevilla. Brought on Manucho against them and got it back to 2-2. Did the same thing again, and you'll never guess what happened. You don't think lightning could strike twice, but it did, and it did very, very quickly. Just 2 minutes after Manucho coming in at half-time, he headed in, and then he scored 3 minutes later, stabbing the ball past Adan in goal to make it 2-2, and that's really it. The game sort of died out after that point. Neither team really tried to proper go for it. It was just everyone trying to hold the draw that they had, and it's another good result for Rayo, but ultimately it's also good for Betis. Both teams have struggled for form. They've both now drawn 3 times in a row, so it'll be interesting to see which one of those two comes out on top, because they've both got elements of not being able to score enough and not being able to get the other teams out. So it'll certainly be interesting.
And Ruben Castro, what, 32, 33 now?
34.
34, there you go. And still getting goals. Better with age. More on that later. Our final game then that we want to just touch on is the Valencia game. Now, John made a little comment in our WhatsApp group at the time. John, what was your comment that you made? Maybe Tom can sort of pick up the reins from there.
Oh, yeah, sorry about Valencia. I see once they played a half-decent team, they started losing again.
Tom, take it away.
Yeah, well, there you go. So Athletic Bilbao, ironically, the team that they've drawn in the Europa League, and I went out on a limb and said, oh, they might be dark horses. And I think Drew is also a bit guilty of agreeing with me there. So
yeah.
Certainly they got put in their place a bit. But it wasn't as easy as the scoreline suggests. There was only one real chance, or 2 real chances for Valencia. First, Negredo, that man from Man City, can't really get his form over, smashing over the bar early on in the first half. And then Paco Alcacer also had a chance, but was easily saved by Iraijo. And then in the 73rd minute, it really hit the magic for Athletic Bilbao. Sabin Moreno, the guy that scored brilliantly, I say, against the French team, Kris. Wasn't it a great goal?
Yeah.
And he scored another header this week, and that made it 1-0. San Jose cross, that was. 4 minutes later, Munayin, the forgotten man, been out of so many ravaged injuries, truly trying to get back form, slotted home after. The ball was nicked from Parejo by Mikel Rico, one of my favourite name players in La Liga. And then Beñé swung a corner in, which that man up front for them, Adariz, the former Valencia striker, ironically, heading home to complete the 7 minutes of demolition.
Yeah, 3 goals out completely nowhere. It was drifting to a 0-0 draw and then bang, bang, bang. Yeah, interesting. Okay, give us the other results then from this week.
Okay, so Las Palmas earned their first away win of the season, winning 1-0 at Eibar. Big Ass was the scorer in that game. Getafe couldn't take any of their chances as the returning Nolito and Celta another 1-0 away win in the Liga this weekend. The unstoppable force met the immovable object as Sociedad and Malaga ran out a 1-1 draw. Cop for Malaga getting the scoring going, and then the returning Agarecha from injury equalising. Villarreal had a comfortable 3-0 home win against Levante. Baptistao, Calejejo and Adrian, who was absolutely amazing during the game, a really great performance. And Navarro for Levante was sent off after stupidly bringing down Adrian running on in the 56th minute. Granada recorded a huge win at Deportivo. El Arabi's penalty in the 24th minute was enough to see 3 points go back to Granada. Lux then needlessly got himself sent off in the 93rd minute. That's really going to damage their chances for the draw kings this season. And finally, Barcelona avoided a scare at home to Sevilla. Vitolo putting the visitors 1-0 up before Messi's brilliant free kick, which I definitely go check out. And an unlikely goal from Piqué was the winner that turned it around. So an interesting week in Spain. And may I just quickly add that if you're a betting man, and I am guilty of this, don't use Betfair's enhanced football stats because they put a bet out to bet on Getafe, Gijón and Real Madrid, and me being the clever guy that I am, bet on the opposite teams, and at 34-1 got myself a nice profit.
Bish, bash, bosh. Don't gamble, kids. It's a mugs game. But if you do, do it the right way. Hey. Okay. What about the table then? Where does that leave us? And also, do you want to give us... there's a full midweek programme in La Liga as well, isn't there, this week?
That is indeed. So the table as it stands is Barca, Atleti, Real, Villarreal, Sevilla. It's been the same way it has been for weeks. 66, 58, 54, 52, 41 points. Bit of a gap opening up between 4th and 5th. At the bottom... we've got Levante in 20th on 20 points. Granada follow them on 23 points going up. Gijón on 24 points have gone down. Going up are Las Palmas on 24 points. Also, Rayo on 26 have gone down. Getafe have also gone down 26. And that team, Espanyol, have overtaken both of them now on 28 points. And Betis are also on 28 points after their draw. So the midweek clashes. We've got Atletico against Real Sociedad. Las Palmas against Getafe. Sevilla against Eibar. Celta against Villarreal. Malaga against Valencia. Athletic Bilbao against Deportivo La Coruña. Levante against Real Madrid, and Granada against Sporting Gijón, Espanyol against Real Betis, Rayo against Barcelona, and that is it.
Splendid. I did like the sort of Jamaican accent was beautiful. Yeah, love it. Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. And again, as per usual, any questions on La Liga, ping them Tom's way at TCunter94. Right, over to Mr. Welsh then, as he picks up the old reins of steel. John, I shall pass to you, and we'll go to all things French, and it's this week's Liga.
Bonjour. That's all the French I know. So anyway, we'll quickly skip past that bit. Kris, right, first of all this week, let's talk about Nice, and they didn't have such a nice day.
Oh, John, that's poor.
I had a week off, sorry.
Well,
I'm a
you're
bit
sad
rusty.
that is poor, yeah. No, they didn't have a very nice day, did they, Nice? No, they lost at home to Bastia. This was an ill-tempered affair. Lots of bookings, lots of fouls, just a really niggly, nasty game. It's kind of almost a derby between these two. And there were no fewer than, as I quickly scanned down my radar here, 8 yellow cards and 1 red. So it gives you an idea of what kind of game it was. But Bastia coming into the game as the form side, and so it proved. 2 goals, beautiful free kick from Diao and Floyd Aite. And I've got a lot of time for him, I must admit. Very big fan of his. He got the second and proving to be the clinching goal just 3 minutes after the first one in. So it's a big victory for Bastia. A couple of stats for you. particularly when it comes to Nice. Hatem Ben Arfa is so vital. They've had 1 win in 6 since he's been out injured. He's contributed 11 goals, 2 assists, and 7 second assists in the 24 goals in 24 games. Sorry, of the 39 goals that Nice have scored. So that's pretty much half that he's been involved in. So he's a massive miss. And as for Bastia, 6 wins in 9 for Bastia now. So they have really found a nice knack of winning, and it's kind of winning ugly, but they're winning well, and they've flown at the table as a result of it.
Well, our second favourite team from Corsica will take wins any way we can get them. Now, another team who also didn't have a nice day was Bordeaux, as they travelled to play Stade Reims.
Yes, Willy Sagnol's Bordeaux. Willy Sagnol is starting to look over his shoulder, and rightly so. Bordeaux, they're so bipolar. Every time you see them, they're up, they're down, they're just so inconsistent, and such a bizarre side, how they can play so well one week and then the next it's just poor. This was a very poor day. Issa Mandi, the captain of Ram, put them 1 up. Bifuma, who Tom will be familiar with, put them 2. Charbonnier made it 3. There was a brief sort of glimpse of a comeback when Unas, who's probably one of the star performers for Bordeaux, the youngster, got them back in it, but a late Bangura goal sealed a 4-1 victory. Now, considering the fact that Ram are not big goal scorers, they scored 32 in the league. When you compare that to likes of Monaco on 40, Monaco notoriously low scorers, it's not a great return. But I do worry for Sagnol. He has got problems, there's no denying. There's 11 first-team players out injured now. The winning column away from home is what really worries me. 2 wins from 18 away from home. I mean, that says it all. As for Ram, though, they're playing to their strengths, basically. A couple of bit of random stats for you. 43% of their goals are coming down the right side. 36% are coming down the left side. They are getting goals because they're playing to their strengths, getting the ball wide, pinging it in, and the likes of Charbonnier in the middle, they're always going to cause a threat. So it's a good win for Ram, and Bordeaux, wouldn't surprise me if Sagnol doesn't see out the season.
Oh, well, not good news there. Now, moving on to our next game. I'm a bit confused because I'm looking at the scoreline now and it doesn't look right, because I'm pretty sure Toulouse won, didn't they? Because they scored and that was it, game over, wasn't it?
No, afraid not. Toulouse, what a mess. What an absolute mess. This has been coming for a while. You talk about sort of the Aston Villa effect is what I'm going to start calling it, where you've got a quite a big side, or a side with quite a good reputation in their league, who have just been flirting with relegation. Eventually something has to give, and I think this is the year that Toulouse are going to go. Really interesting stat for you. Toulouse, they've conceded goals on or after 70th minute 16 times in 28 games. Now, that might not sound a lot. Trust me, that's a lot of late goals. When you think about most teams, if you think of Tom's Atletico Madrid, for example, who really shut up shop and keep things tight until the last 20 and then go and win the game, Toulouse do the reverse. They come all out, they blow up early, and then they really struggle late on, and they just keep conceding goals. This was a new low, though. Rennes, who have got a bit of a habit of scoring late goals, they've scored 4 times in the last minutes on 7 occasions, and it is quite a record for them. They're only 1 point off of third now, so it's great for them. But yeah, 2 goals in stoppage time when you're 1-0 up. Wissam Ben Yedder, who's basically their only hope, he put them in front. Toulouse, that is, and then ran goals from Ousmane Dembele and that super sub Grzycki, both in stoppage time, both beyond the 90th minute, and both because Toulouse pushed too many men forward. That sort of rings a bell for us Arsenal fans, hey. But that's how it ended. Ran 2 goals in stoppage time. They get the victory. Toulouse are doomed. Put the cat out. I can't see them coming back from this.
Toulouse, not just a clever name. So, the last one I wanted to talk about was... I like it now, you just completely ignore what I say.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I've got you.
Last game I wanted to sort of concentrate on was Lyon. PSG were travelling to Lyon. And, of course, PSG must have won, because no one could beat them. They just beat everyone in Ligue 1, don't they?
Well, normally, yes.
I got it wrong again.
You did. God. I'm going to pat myself on the back here. I'm going to say called it. I did. I had a sneaky feeling. PSG, to say they've been struggling would be a massively ridiculous thing to say because they don't struggle in Ligue 1, but they have been a little bit patchy, and it's no coincidence that the Champions League has loomed back into focus, and because of that, almost they seem to have gone slightly off the boil. They're that sort of bowl of pasta that you've just taken off for a few seconds to let it cool down, and they'll be ready to reheat in a few minutes. So, but they did lose. Really, really important victory for Lyon, who remain unbeaten in their new stadium. Lyon, from the very first minute, were just at it. Really at it, closing down, sort of denying space, denying time. PSG really couldn't play it. It has to be said, PSG did play a weak inside. They had Cavani up front, for example. No, that's mean, but you know what I'm saying. No Di Maria, no Blaise Matuidi, who was on the bench, so they did have a slightly weakened side. But yeah, Lyon thoroughly deserved it. The youngsters are coming good for them. Lacazette looks sharp, although he didn't get a goal. He was instrumental in the 2 goals that they got with the build-up play. They're only 8 points off second, which 6-7 weeks ago was completely unthinkable. So it is a huge win for Lyon. As for PSG, it's only 1 win against Lyon away from home since 2005. So it shouldn't have been a massive shock, this one, even if the sides were so far apart. But as I said, ahead of this Chelsea second leg, I think their eye's been taken off the ball. And if you are going to lose a game, losing when you're 20 plus points ahead of the league is probably the time to do it. And a quick word, as I say, for Lyon's youngsters, they gave 2 more debuts in this game late on for players that never even made the first team squad. And one of their players, Max Cornet, who's divides opinion in Lyon, but he's starting to find some form, and I think he's going to be quite a big star. And do look out for Sergi Darder's goal, which is probably goal of the season. Absolutely brilliant finish and a lovely move that led to the winning goal.
Oh, well, I suppose if you're going to lose one game, I suppose losing when you're that many points clear is it's not too big of a deal. Do you want to just give us the rest of the results from the weekend and the league table as it stands?
I can indeed, yes, and I think somebody has a little question for me, which I'll try my best to answer in a second as well. So we've got the other results for the weekend. Montpellier, they won again, 3-0 victory over Lille. Berigo, Dabo and Shqiri with the goals. Shqiri's first ever goal for Montpellier. I think it's only his fifth appearance for the first team, so good for him. Angers, if you haven't seen this goal, John, you know what I'm talking about. Capel's goal for Angers.
Yeah, I'm disappointed you didn't talk about that game, to be honest, just for that goal.
I was so
ridiculous.
Tempted,
it was my goal of the weekend, easily.
Oh, it's absolutely stunning. I couldn't leave out the Bordeaux game because it was so massive, but it was on my list. But yes, the game ended 2-2. Privat and Gires with goals for Guingamp. Kekao Umfumfone, Danny's favourite player. He got the equaliser. Jake Ndoye was actually sent off for Angers. It's a good point for Angers. But yes, do look up Pierre-Eric Capel's kind of volley. It's Yeboah-esque. He sort of flicks it up for himself and a volley over his shoulder, looking away from goal, 25 yards, bending away from the keeper. It is stunning. So do look that up. Even if you look up nothing else, look that up. Nantes and Monaco stunk up the joint 0-0 on Sunday. Subasic very good for Monaco in goal there. St Etienne, they lost at home, surprisingly really, to Caen. Andy Delort, more on him later, with 1, and Rodelan with the second. Eseric with a late goal back. And Gazalec Ajaccio are friends of the pod. Their game with Marseille was postponed due to very heavy rain. So no play for those sides as far as that game goes. That will, of course, be rearranged. And as far as the table goes, well, as I said, PSG, they're still way out in front, 73 points. They're still 23 points because Monaco obviously drew. They're clear at the top. Monaco second. Lyon up to third now, 42 points level with Caen, also up to fourth and 42. And you've got Nice, Rennes, St Etienne and Nantes make up the top 8. Then at the bottom, Troyes doomed, 14 points. They're gone. Toulouse, in my opinion, already doomed as well. They're 6 points adrift on 22 points. They're adrift of Gazalec on 28. Ham on 32, Guingamp on 32 and Lille on 34. Maybe even Montpellier on 35. Still a little way off being 100% safe, but in my opinion, Toulouse and Troyes are the 2 that are doomed.
Yeah, right. Now, quickly before we go, I think Drew's got a question about a certain player in Liga, and he'd like to ask. Throw away, Drew.
Kris, I know you talk about Michy Batshuayi a lot. With the Euros coming up and Belgium being sort of struggling at the striker role with Benteke not being on form or fit half the time, Origi's not really playing all that well. They really only have Romelu Lukaku. But Batshuayi doesn't really feature a lot for Belgium. Would you be surprised if he does not get a call for the Belgian squad for the Euro? And B, do you think he'll stay in France long, or do you think he'll move on to a quote-unquote bigger league?
I think he will probably move on because there's a caveat to this. Marseille need money and they need to be bought. They are desperately trying to be sold by their owner. So if they get the financial backing for the money that it will take to bring in the right players, Michi might well stick around. But my hunch is they won't be able to do that and that he will be sold for quite a healthy profit. My thought is he'll probably end up in the Premier League. If not this summer, certainly in January. But I think it will happen in the summer. As for the Euros, yes, I do expect him to go with Belgium, possibly at the expense of even Benteke, maybe, because he's not exactly pulling up trees. The thing with Batshuayi is he offers you something different. The weird thing is he's got goals this season, and to be perfectly honest with you, he's not been in great form, which I know is a weird thing to say, but he is Marseille as far as goal scoring goes, and if they lose him and they don't replace him, I really do fear for Marseille. They're struggling badly this season in mid-table, and I don't think they'll be able to turn down a player if he turns around to them and says, look, I've given you good service, I want to move on. So, no, I think he'll be gone, mate. I really do.
All right, well, lovely. Before we let you go, Kris, do you want to give us a game to watch next week? Also, I think you've got cup action midweek as well?
Yeah, there's the Coupe de France quarter-finals. You've got Sochaux, Nantes, Lorient, Gazelec on. This is on Wednesday, and you've also got St Etienne PSG. Don't miss that one. That should be very decent. And on Thursday, you've got the remaining tie, which is Glanville, not the popular UK sitcom, versus Marseille. So that'll be worth a watch. As far as the game to look out for next weekend, I'm going to plump for Caen against Monaco. The battle of second versus fourth. It's on Friday night. It's on BT Sport in the UK. I think that'll be a real clash of styles. I think that'll be well worth a look.
Lovely jubbly. Right, I'll hand back over to you, mate.
Thank you very much. Right, only one place to go. It always seems like you hand over to me and I hand back over to you, but I'm going to do that anyway. And we'll take a trip to your neck of the woods and Italy. It's this week's Serie A. Right then, John. So much to get through, including tonight's action, but we will start with Empoli, and they entertained Roma at home, and the Pharaoh. He's nicely settled in Rome, isn't he?
Yeah, he's absolutely loving it there. Roma getting a 3-1 win. It's the sixth consecutive win in a row now in Serie A for Roma. So they've got under really, really good form now that Spalletti's back in charge. Perfect start as well with what would have been my goal of the weekend were it not for Capel's finish, but El Shaarawy getting a stunning goal. Fully 25 yards out, curling into the top corner, just sort of 5 minutes into the game. Empoli did get a goal back with a bit of luck. Mario Rui's cross being punched away by Szczesny, only to rebound in off the face of a retreating Zukanovic, unfortunately for an own goal for him. But then 2 minutes later, Miralem Pjanic stepped up, took a free kick, hit the wall. Unfortunately, Empoli committed the cardinal sin, which is they let Pjanic get back onto the ball and he volleyed it home, much to his frustration because he didn't score from the free kick, which he normally does. Empoli did come back into the game a little bit, a couple of decent efforts from Big Mac Massimo Macaroni, but then Roma did their typical thing of being able to sit back, being compact, hitting on the counter. Mohamed Salah getting free down the left-hand side. He saw his effort saved, but there he was again, the Pharaoh stepping up for the rebound and finishing it off. Mario Rui getting sent off late on for Empoli for a really stupid challenge on Antonio Rudiger. Should have probably been a straight red card, to be honest, but it was his second yellow, so he was a bit lucky there. But another good result for Roma, and worrying times for Empoli because they really are on a slide at the moment.
I'm really happy to see El Shaarawy, or El Shaarawy, whichever you pronounce. I'm really happy to see him doing so well because it just didn't work at Monaco, and I really thought it would. So it's good to see him back in some form because he is a good little player to watch when fit, of course. Yeah. Let's move on to the next game then, and I want to look at a kind of, I suppose you call it a 6-pointer in old-fashioned money. It's Sampdoria at home to Frosinone, and it's a win for Samp, much needed for the boss Montella because he's been under quite a bit of pressure recently.
Yeah, I actually have on my notes cliche relegation 6-pointer, so you beat me to it. Goals from Fernando and Coquilera saw Samp run out 2-0 winners. First goal in particular was actually really well worked from Samp, a really good team goal. But it wasn't all them. Frosinone actually did play very well in the game, and if it wasn't for the Arsenal legend Emilio Viviano, who I don't think ever actually featured for us on that season-long loan he had, then if it wasn't for him, Frosinone probably would have scored and at least got a point out of the game. Tonev and Ciafani in particular for Frosinone were really good. But yeah, it's massive for Montella because just things were not going well at all at Samp. In fact, they were going so bad that the ultras turned up to the training ground. And when I say ultras, I don't mean sort of 3 or 4. There was probably over 100 of them, all at the training ground. And as the players are obviously all turned around and see the ultras there, they then have to listen to them through the wire fence, and basically said, the ultras, led by a guy at the front, said, if you don't want to play, put your hands up, which obviously none of the players did. And then he just said, right, you have to go and win. And they did.
No pressure.
No pressure at all, and the inspiration obviously worked. So I don't know whether Montella went and thanked the ultras for that, but it clearly worked in the game. But yeah, huge for Samp because that moves them 5 points off relegation. Disappointing for Frosinone, but there's still promising sides in there. They might be able to get themselves out of it.
Yes, building a squad around Inter Milan players that failed is never a good idea, as you and I both know. But hey ho, we shall see. Let's move it on to another game then, and let's go to the big boys. There was the Derby d'Italia on Sunday evening, where our beloved Inter, they did an Inter, didn't they, as they went to the J Stadium.
Yeah, I predicted that Juve would win comfortably, and they did. Really comfortably. I had an interesting conversation with Jimmy on Twitter. He knows who he is, about the game and the formation, the team, and you looked at the two midfields, and Inter's was Kondogbia, Medel, Felipe Melo. Then you looked at Juventus, and it was Pogba, Hernandez, and Sami Khedira. So the difference in class and quality and what the midfielders can do just said it all. But Inter managed to hold out until half time, keeping it 0-0. Handanovic and the whole Inter back line actually looking quite good, and I thought we might be able to get a 0-0 out of it, and maybe nick a goal if we were lucky on the break or from a set piece. But in the end, they couldn't contain Dybala and the rest of the Juve front line. It was actually D'Ambrosio deciding to, for no reason at all, heading a ball back across goal when it was clearly going out of play from a Dybala free kick. But he decided to do that, and Leonardo Bonucci ran on to the end of it and showed his class with a really, really difficult volley, actually, which you don't see from a centre-back. But it just goes to show how much ability he's got. Alvaro Morata came on in the 81st minute and immediately won a penalty, getting a really clumsy challenge from Miranda. He then stepped up, took the penalty himself and scored. Buffon didn't have to make a save until the 88th minute in the game, and even that was quite timid. The first real chance he had to stop was from Eder right in stoppage time. Buffon actually set a new record in this game as well. That's 746 minutes without conceding a goal in Serie A, which is just over 8 consecutive games, 8 and a bit games with a clean sheet, basically.
Do you know the thing I love about Gigi Buffon is you look at him and he legitimately looks like your dad, doesn't he? He just looks like that bloke that, he once had a decent career, and then you see him play and he looks like a 21-year-old again. It's so bizarre to see a guy who looks his age but plays 10 years below it. It's such a... Compare that to Casillas, for example. I mean, the difference is astonishing, but fair play to Gigi. What a legend. Let's bring it on to tonight's game. Obviously recording late on a Monday night, and that saw a clash which, it's fair to say, a draw didn't suit either of them. It's Fiorentina hosting Napoli. You can probably guess what the score was, I guess, then, can't you?
Well, yeah. 1-1 in the game. It was bizarre game in the fact that it should have been so many more goals, or it seemed like it anyway. I think it was 5 minutes after Marcos Alonso put Fiorentina in front. Free kick, sadly, completely unmarked, but it still wasn't an easy finish, and he managed to put it away neatly. But then from kick-off, Napoli took the kick-off straight back to Koulibaly, who hit a long diagonal ball. And that man, Marcos Alonso, decided to attempt a clearance of some sort, but completely fluffed it, and it fell straight to Gonzalo Higuain. Tatarusano, the Romanian goalkeeper for Fiorentina, I think he thought that Alonso was going to pass it back to him, so he was basically to the left of his goal when the goal was completely open. And you can't do that when Higuain's on the pitch, and he scores straight away to basically equalise within, I think, less than a minute. After that, it was a really end-to-end, fast-paced game, both teams having chances. I think Fiorentina might actually come out as a team a little bit more disappointed. Christian Tello hitting the post, Kalinic hitting the crossbar. Higuain had a goal disallowed for offside, which was the right call, but it was very, very marginal. So I think Fiorentina will be a little bit more disappointed, but it was probably two of the better performances I've seen from both sides, with their both having sort of like a little dip lately, and there were some question marks over Napoli on how they were going to sort of keep up their title challenge, but it was a much better performance and two really evenly matched teams.
Absolutely, and a quick nod to Tatarusanu in goal for Fiorentina, who made one wonderful double save, it has to be said.
Oh, yeah. He was really superb tonight. I didn't want to talk about him too much because I thought I'd butcher his name and say it horribly wrong, but yeah, he was fantastic. And Christian Tello as well, who's come into Fiorentina and really made a difference in actually challenging Bernadeschi for his spot in the team.
It's almost like you wrote this, because I have a question for Tom, and then Tom has a question for you. It's a podcast first, so
oh, well, there you go.
I'm going to go to Tom first of all. Tom, Christian Tello, John mentioned him there. He, to me, looks like a player just completely transformed with this loan deal to Fiorentina. He looked a player who was lost a little bit with I think it was Ajax he went to from memory, on loan briefly, or am I thinking of the other guy? Anyway, he went Cuenca. Sorry, yes.
He went to Porto.
Porto, that's right, Porto. Sorry, yes, there we go. Just watch so many bloody games, you get confused. But he looked a bit lost at Porto, didn't really get the games. He's now gone to Fiorentina. Italian football seems to suit him. Do you think there's ever a chance he could end up back at Barcelona, or do you think he's found his right place now?
I don't think you'll see him back at Barca. I think it's pretty well known, as we talk about the likes of when Gervinho went to Roma. We know that fast wingers do well in Serie A, and he's extremely rapid, and he suits the style of play. And I think it's great that he's doing successful, especially for my La Viola. So very happy about that. But honestly, I don't think you'll see him at a bigger club than Fiorentina. I think that is his level. So, but no, I like the guy, and I liked him at Barcelona, and I think that it's good that he's finally getting his rhythm going.
Absolutely. And you've got a question for John before I come back to John for the...
Yes, results. I do indeed, about Lazio. So basically, they're pretty bad this season. Yep. But obviously they're still in the Europa League, and that's where my point is. They got Sparta Prague in the round of 16. You've got the likes of Bilbao and Valencia playing each other, Liverpool and United, and Dortmund and Tottenham. It seems a lot of big teams could be going out. Could this be their only road back into Europe?
They've still got a chance of getting back into the Europa League in Serie A itself, but their only chance of winning anything is the Europa League, and they are a decent team. I think the problem is they finished so well last season. The expectations of them, I think, are a little bit too high, and they are a very, very young team. They've got some good older players, but a lot of their talent is very, very young. And I think the other problem is that a lot of it is quite a few of them have had their head turned in January with talk of potential moves. The talk is that Felipe Anderson has already been sold to Man United, according to the owner, although he did change his mind the next day and said that he made that up. But you never can tell in Serie A. So, no, I think they've got a good chance, because the draw they got is certainly favourable compared to, say, what Tottenham, Dortmund. I don't think either of those would have liked to face each other that early in the competition. So, yeah, I've got high hopes for them. But out of the teams that were in it, they weren't the Italian side that I thought would get through, if I'm honest.
Fair play.
Yeah, it's really surprising. Well, I say surprising, it probably wasn't surprising, but really good result for SAS, that I have to say. Very good indeed. Right, John, other results from Serie A, and give us an update on the table as well.
Yeah, so as you were saying, Lazio lost 2-0 at home to Sassuolo. That was the early kick-off today. Udinese got a much-needed 2-0 win at home to Verona. Chievo won 1-0 at home to Genoa. Milan getting the same result at home to Torino. And there was draws between Carpi and Atlanta. That was 1-1, and a 0-0 between Palermo and Bologna. And then onto the table. Because of the results and the drop points from Napoli, Sorry, the only 1 point from Napoli. Juventus are top on 61. Napoli are second on 58. Roma, after their 6 wins on the bounce now, doing really well. They're up to third on 53. Fiorentina level with them on 53. Inter down to fifth now on 48. And Milan creeping up there on 47. Down at the bottom, Verona looking very lost and lonely down on 18, Carpi on 21, Frosinone on 23, and then it's 4 points to Palermo, who I think they've still got a chance of catching, so Frosinone not quite out of it yet.
Interesting. What about the table? Where are we looking at as far as the top end of things goes, particularly?
Sorry?
Oh, sorry, you've given us a table. I'm just asking you to repeat yourself. It's absolutely fine. I'm just losing my mind. Don't worry about me. I'm looking at the table, so for some reason I asked you to repeat yourself.
Oh, well,
you just have to make up those 18 seconds somewhere.
Oh,
Jesus! No, that's the fault of the host. I was staring at Serie A league table, and for some reason I got stuck in my head.
You were about to ask me about fixtures, weren't you?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you about, John. Who are the fixtures for the midweek round of games?
There we go. Well, there is Coppa Italia midweek, so Tuesday night. So 1st of March is the second leg between Milan and Alessandria. It's 1-0 from the first leg to Milan, and on Wednesday night is the second leg between Inter and Juventus. Nobody watched that game; it will be horrible. Juventus are already 3-0 up from that, so that one's done. There is a and then it's back to normal league action at the weekend, and the game I picked out is Friday night's fixture between Roma and Fiorentina. Two teams in really good form at the moment, so it should be a great game.
Oh God, conflict is my game on Friday night and yours. What are we going to do?
Yeah, well, everyone knows Serie A's better, so it's fine.
Here we go. And there you go, listeners. If there was ever any doubt that this podcast is not professional, then that last 30 seconds of that will prove to you that we are indeed human. Right.
Yeah, Kris had to ask which league was the best, so you know he's not a professional.
Yeah, like that needs answering.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Moving on. Right, okay, so that is our whistle-stop tour around the leagues. This is the part where I talk really, really, really fast, just so that I can give you a little bit of an update on teams doing stuff elsewhere. It's this week's Best of the Rest. Okay, just the two leagues I've picked out this week. We're going to start in Drew's Feyenoord's neck of the woods. It's the Eredivisie in the Netherlands or Holland, whichever you prefer. Just want to give you a quick update on how things are progressing. So as Drew said, Feyenoord finally snapping that sequence of bad results. Good win for them. But everyone wants to know who's leading the table. Currently it's PSV, 62 points. They got another impressive victory this weekend, 2-0 over ADO Den Haag. Ajax are indeed second, just a point behind them on 25. They came up with a 4-1 victory over AZ Alkmaar, who themselves are fourth, behind Drew's Feyenoord in third. The top 7 is made up then of Utrecht, Hercules and Vitesse Arnhem, who I would probably say are underperforming slightly this season. And then towards the sort of bottom end, Heerenveen and Twente, noticeable underperformers as well, 11th and 12th. Down the bottom, you've got De Graafschap, who I think I'm right in saying came up last year. I may be wrong on that, but I think I'm right. And then you've got Canberra in 17th, and you've got Excelsior in 18th to occupy the relegation spots, with Willem II and Roda JC hovering dangerously above that line. So that's a quick update for you as far as Holland goes. I think it's probably fair to say that PSV and Ajax are going to be challenging for the title. As much as I'd like to give you some hope, Drew.
There's no hope.
20 plus points. I think it's probably fair to say that it's a two-horse race, unfortunately. Which now leads us across to the other league that I want to touch upon this week, which is the Belgian Pro League. Now, this one is also kind of a two-horse race, but it's two that you might not be completely, or you might be completely surprised by. Club Brugge are joint top with Ghent on 58 points. Anderlecht, who you'd expect to be top, are 6 points back on 52 points in third. third. You've got KV Oostende on 46 points in fourth. Genk in fifth place on 45, and Zuto Falahem in the sixth place on 40 points. Standard Liège, the underperformers of the week there, they're down in eighth place. I think we mentioned them briefly before. And then down the bottom, you've got Muscron Peruwelels. I always say that wrong. They are bottom, but kind of joint bottom with Westerlo, both 27 points. You've got OH Leuven on 28 points, Sint-Truiden on 29, and Lokeren on 30. So it's pretty tight down the bottom in the Belgian league. And I wouldn't say Anderlecht are out of that title race. 6 points is very easily made up, particularly when those teams have got to play each other at the top. So that's a little quick whistle-stop tour of two other leagues. I should say at this point, listeners, if you do have a league that we have yet to focus on, or indeed give you an update on, just ping us a message, and we'll do our best to try and go through. Yeah, thanks, Tom. We will cover Austria at some point, but probably the week that you're off, just to be annoying. But yeah, if there is a particular league that you really want an update on, ping me a quick message on the account, and I will do my very best to give you an update on where that is. Right, okay, let's move on then, and we'll move on to our next segment, which is this week's Hipsters Choice. Okay, this week's Hipster's Choice. I've kind of plumped for a player that I know a little bit about this week. It's always very difficult to keep my panelists happy because everybody moans when they don't get an opportunity to talk about a player they love. And I was very keen on picking this player out to have a little natter about. So, without further ado, this week's Hipster's Choice, he plays in Liga, and it is Caen's Andy Delort. So, Andy Delort, what do we know about him other than the fact he had a failed spell at Wigan? More on that in a second. So, full name is indeed Andy Delort. He was born on October 9th, 1991, which makes him 24 years of age. He is French, he's 6 foot dead, and he weighs 181 pounds. He wears the number 9 for Caen in Liga. He's a forward, he's a right-footed forward, and he has a contract with Nike. He wears the Mercurial Superfly boots. If you want to follow him or just generally stalk him, you can do on Twitter or Instagram at AndyDelort9. What do we know about him then? Well, he was born in the Mediterranean, and one look at him and you'll certainly notice that. He was born in the seaside town of Sète in southern France. He joined FC Sète FC Sète 34, to give him their full name, as a youth, before joining AC Ajaccio in 2008. The striker quickly attracted the interest of Bordeaux and indeed Borussia Dortmund after scoring 30 goals for the under-19s, but despite being offered a contract by the latter after a trial period which saw him play alongside Mario Götze and Shinji Kagawa, no less, in the Dortmund reserves, Delort elected to stay in France with Ligue 1 side Nîmes Olympique. After 3 appearances with the Ligue 2 side, Delort rejoined AC Ajaccio in 2010, and over the next 5 years he played with Metz on loan at Tours and indeed Wigan Athletic, before joining Caen in 2015. Despite not staying with one team long enough to become established, he did manage to notch his first Ligue 1 goal for Ajaccio in 2013 on April 27th. It was a 2-1 win against Montpellier, but he failed to make the sustained breakthrough into the first team. His most successful stint with the Ligue 2 side Tours was in the 2013-14 season, where he scored 24 goals in 36 games. That was indeed Ligue 2's joint top scorer, and he was named in the Team of the Year and nominated for Player of the Year, which he eventually lost to Metz's Diafra Sakho, who certain fans of Premier League football will be familiar with, particularly West Ham fans. His success at Tours prompted a move to English side Wigan in 2014-15 season. However, he failed to settle completely, and he took a 50% wage decrease to return to Tours on loan for the remainder of the season. And in July 2015, he signed a 4-year contract with Caen, and finally, it looks like this could be the breakout season in the top flight of French football for him. He's made 28 appearances, that's 2,422 minutes. He scored 10 goals, which is the 7th best in Liga, tied with Alexandre Lacazette. He has 2 assists, 5 yellow cards and no red cards. He averages 3.9 shots per game. That's quite a high ratio. It's actually only person he is behind is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So that's quite a stat, that one. Pass success rate is 56.4%, and he averages 25.3 passes per game. His aerial prowess is pretty decent as well. 4.6 aerial challenges on average he wins. That's 4th in Liga. He's been man of the match 4 times, which is tied 7th in Liga. And WhoScored.com give him an average rating of 7.15, which is pretty high. Despite some early controversies, he received a full match ban in 2011 after a nightclub brawl. Hey, standard. He is by all accounts a hard-working professional. He speaks openly about his struggles at Wigan, and based on his form this season, he has regained the confidence that he lost during that time there. Delors may not be the most technical of players, however he's strong, physical, quick, and has great awareness in the box and an eye for goal. Usually employed as a central striker in Cannes' preferred 4-3-3 formation, the bullish striker is a handful for defenders, good in the air and is not afraid to strike from distance, and he's drawn comparisons to fellow French striker Olivier Giroud. His main weaknesses are that his passing and the fact that his tendency to commit fouls. Interestingly, according to WhoScored.com, he averages 3.2 unsuccessful touches per game. That's the most in Liga. However, in the past, Delors has been lauded for his first touch, so it's kind of a little bit contradictory terms almost there. And finally, he has earned 1 cap for the French under-20s in 2011, and in the 2009 he played in the World Cup qualifying matches with the French national beach team under no less Eric Cantona, who was the coach of the French side. So there we go. Now, I'm fully aware that pretty much all of our panellists have absolutely no idea of anything to do with Andy Delors.
He was linked with Charlton once.
Oh, well, there we go. Well, there's a fact. There's one fact. Hey, we'll scrimp and save for all we can get. But in light of that, I just want to say that I'm a big fan, really, really big fan. He scored at the weekend, as I mentioned earlier, in the 2-1 victory at St Etienne, which, of course, Bernardeschi did, I think I'm right in saying, John, a week or so ago. Every time we seem to name a player, something happens. Serge Aurier, maybe we should probably let that one just drift away and pretend that we didn't put him into our Hipsters Choice Hall of Fame, maybe. But
I didn't say anything about Serge Aurier. That was all you.
Of course, yeah, it is always on me. But no, I'm a big fan of Delors. The comparison with Giroud is fairly similar. What I will say is I'm going to pick on you, Tom, and I'm going to say to you, Aduriz at Bilbao.
Yeah.
His strengths are very similar to Delors. Delors maybe just slightly quicker. What I want to know is, could you see a sort of striker like a Delors making it in Spain, given what Aduriz has done, and of course Kevin Gameiro, who is French himself? Do you think there's sort of room for maybe a Spanish team taking a punt on a player who's been really informed this season?
Yeah, I think there's always room for that. I mean, as you mentioned, with Gameiro going and the like. So, in terms of Aduriz, like, he sort of breaks the mould in terms of Spanish league strikers, being the guy who's the tall one who's good with his head. I mean, you've got players like Negredo in the league as well, who's not as prolific. But I certainly don't see why not. If he's prolific in Spain, if he's prolific in France, then it's always good to see a test of different players in different leagues. So a team like Granada, if losing Peñaranda or even Sporting Gijón are going to lose Sanabria of that on loan, taking a guy like Delors, I don't know if you reckon that's a sort of his level, or you'd rate him a bit higher in sort of the Sevilla Bilbao area. But certainly I think he could do a job.
Yeah, I think right now he's at the right club, and it'll be interesting to see if bigger clubs come sniffing. What I could see is if, for example, Drew touched earlier on about Batshuayi, if he was to move on from Marseille, I wonder if perhaps they could take a little bit of a gamble on him. It'd be fair to say that this season he's been a lot better than he has at previous seasons, but I'm just really pleased. You know, he's quite a sort of a fashionable guy. He likes the tattoos. He's got the flash haircut, and he stands out as a bit of a bad boy. But at heart, I think he's just a hard-working professional. And having a trial at Dortmund with the likes of those names I mentioned, he's got to have something about him. So I wish him good luck, and I think it's good to see him. I'm a big fan, so hey, I've put him in. Why not? Why not? I just want to quickly touch very briefly before we move on our Hipsters Choices. Our big thanks to Kelly, who provides some excellent notes week in, week out for us. And just to give our listeners a quick update, for all the Hipsters Choices we've done, which of course is 20 players now, our average hipster age is 22.48. You'd be interested to know. So it's the average age. So we generally do tend to pick out players that are sort of up and coming. So it is very much worth looking at these players and keeping an eye on them. And quickly to let you know, the league distribution, we've done 2 from the Premier League, 4 from the Bundesliga, 6 from Liga. Oopsie, that's the highest amount. Soz. 4 from Serie A, 2 from the Portuguese Primeira Liga and 3 from La Liga. So expect a few more Premier League players to be going in soon, a few more La Liga players and a few more Serie A players. But of course, my panelists are more than happy to placate me in having my league players put in. So again, if you've got somebody that you really want us to cover, somebody that sort of upcoming player you want us to cover, send us your names and we'll do our very best to get them in. So there we go. That's this week's Hipsters Choice done and dusted. We will now move on quickly to do this week's Team of the Week. Okay, then, we're going to whistle through Team of the Week. No hanging about. We have got the players in a 4-5-1 formation, which seems to be quite popular all of a sudden, just because it's the easiest way for me to crowbar these players in. So, let's announce this week's Team of the Week, then. And here we go. So, in goal, I have gone for Łukasz Fabianski of Tottenham Hotspur. I have to say, of Swansea City, I should say, providing a superb performance against Tottenham Hotspur. It was a losing effort, losing 2-1, but he was absolutely sensational. As I said earlier, a good shout to Tatarusanu at Fiorentina, who probably would have got in had he played before I picked the team. So nod to him. Asa Mandi at Ram, he gets in at right back, a goal and an assist from centre back. Pretty much a leader by example, absolutely superb for him. Then, centre-backs, Leonardo Bonucci, John mentioned him for Juventus, grabbed the opener, and Marshall Juve's defence in the victory over Inter, one of his former clubs, I think I'm right in saying. Diego Godin just gets in ahead of Jimenez for the Atletico Madrid centre-back partnership, held Real at bay and pretty much dominated to take the clean sheet. Luca Antonelli got the winner for AC Milan from left-back. Pretty good run of form for him. He gets in at left back. Fernando Sampdoria, John mentioned him earlier on, scored the first against Frosinone, held the midfield firm, tackle hungry, looks a player, seems to be in a really good vein of form right now. Henrik Mkhitaryan, one of Drew's favourites from Dortmund, so vital to everything that Borussia Dortmund do this season, scored the leveller, set up the third. Without him, it's not such the same Dortmund size. He's crucial. Speaking of crucial players, Riyad Boudebouz of Montpellier, he certainly sparks the creativity department. He got the opener, created the opener, and was a constant puppet master against Lyon. He's certainly been the key to the turnaround in form for Montpellier. Yunus Mali, Janzeb will be happy. He's made it in this week, by far the best player versus Leverkusen. Scored twice around the attacking midfield area. He's certainly come back into form. Stephen El Shaarawy for Roma looks a new player since moving back to Italy. Scored twice versus Empoli. At times is completely unplayable. Seems to have found somewhere where he's happy. Good for him. And Gerard Moreno, Tom will also be happy here. Espanyol, 2 goals and led the Lions superbly in their 4-2 win away at Gijón. And as far as the substitutes bench, one of my favourite named players in current football, Big Ass, Las Palmas. He scored the winner. Dominant defensive display. Has a great name. That's good enough for me. He was key to their victory. Benyat for Bilbao, solid and creative away from home at Valencia. So many interceptions and just very committed performance. Speaking of which, Maxime Gonalons, who's had his fair share of critics this season for Lyon, he returned to full top form and indeed fitness. He drove Lyon from the holding midfield role. Very strong performance as they beat the league's runaway leaders PSG. Christian Eriksen for Tottenham Hotspur masterminded creativity to turn around, or creatively I should say, to turn around the game against Swansea, coming from a goal down to win 2-1. He's very much key for them, as is Cesc Fabregas. Long overdue man of the match performance for him, in my opinion. At Southampton, he scored a rather fortuitous goal, but on the grand scheme of things, his performance was very key to that away victory. And we mentioned him earlier, Max Cornet for Lyon scored a terrific opening goal, real beautiful goal against PSG, and he's such an improved player, certainly silencing the Boo Boys. And finally, just mentioned him, Andy Delort, Khan, the opening goal for St Etienne, true centre forward performance in a great win away from home. There we go. So that's this week's Team of the Week. As usual, it will be on our website. Feel free to have a little nosy. I'm sure people don't really have that much time to look at it, but it's there if you want to look at it. And if you want to maybe look up some of the players that we mentioned, it's always worth taking a little trip back in time. Don't think we had a very good week as far as comparing us to FIFA last week, so we'll just move on because they don't know nothing. Do they? They just don't know nothing. Right, okay, we are nearly done for this week, but of course it wouldn't be a Football Hipsters podcast if we didn't turn things over to you, the listener, and it's time for your questions answered in the onion bag. Okay then, gentlemen. Now, conscious of time, so I want you to keep your answers short and sweet. Not 18 seconds, though, Drew.
Good Lord.
So, seeing as I've just rinsed you there, I'm going to start with you because it would be mean not to. Question from Joe Clark, who I think is a new listener at Spaced Muffin. Do you think Mainz will get into the Europa League, and if not, who will?
Oh man! Oh Jesus! Well, honestly, I'm gonna try to keep sure. I think they can. I don't think they will. They've never really fought for a Europa League place like this before, and honestly, the quality around them, it's just much better on the whole. Especially for the rest of the season, I expect like the Leverkusens and the Schalkes to come through. So I don't think they will, but I think they're gonna have a really good go of it. If they do, you probably couldn't be shocked though.
Fair enough. Like it. Okay. John, one for you. This one comes from our good friend Pigman J. Hankenstein, who had some really nice things to say about the pod earlier on, so thank you very much. He's at Pig Monday. I say he, could be she, I don't know. Wants to know, of Roma, Fiorentina, Inter and Milan, which team is built to best perform in the Champions League next season if they took third place in Serie A? Another excellent question.
Oh wow, that is a very good question. I know it'll sound strange, but it will be Roma. And the reason I say it sounds strange is because they've done so bad recently in the Champions League. They haven't had favourable draws. I think the difference is now that they've got Spalletti in charge, and he was the one who sort of got them propelled into the positions that they find themselves more regularly in Serie A at this time. For Lazio, I think it would be too soon, especially with the budget constraints they've got there. Fiorentina as well are heavily their budget constraints are also too harsh. So yeah, I'd have to say Roma. I know it's a bit of a cop-out answer because they're already there, but they're the best. They are the best team besides Juve in that league, I think.
No, nothing wrong with that. He asked the question and you gave him an honest answer, so that's fine by me. Two questions from Assist Me Baby, who's at that Fly Gooner. No prizes for guessing who he supports. He said, is Lacazette still good and on track to be world class? Ooh, tough one. Be honest with you, I don't think he's going to be in that world-class department, which probably means that Arsenal will be very interested. That was mean of me. But no, I think he's... I do think he's going to get the move. I think he's made no secret of his desire to play Premier League football. I hope more than anything else in this world that he doesn't end up at sort of a Newcastle or a Stoke. There's nothing against those sort of sides, but in my opinion, he's better than that. He has had a real difficult season with service. I think he's had a very, very changed formation, changed lineup, changed as a manager. It's so fractured at Lyon. So seeing him play last night and having the hunger back was really good. And I just hope he gets the move that his talent befits, shall we say. So we shall see. Next one for you, Tom. Frank McClintock at Cashod. He's always in with a good question. He wants to know, can Antoine Griezmann use the win against Real Madrid as a model to challenge for the Champions League?
Yeah, not just Antoine Griezmann, but the whole of the Atletico Madrid team. I think that their performance against Real Madrid, as Simeone put it, was they played like Atletico. It's what they do. They get a lead and they hold it, and they know how to. Which is when you're going to go up against the likes of Bayern and Barcelona, which they know a lot about in their league. They got to be able to do because they are an anti-team, as I had said previously, describing them against the likes of Barcelona. So I think that they are perfectly set up to win the Champions League this season. In fact, I might even put a bet on it.
Ooh, fighting talk.
But they did draw 0-0 at PSV, so I might hold back a little bit.
That was another terrible game.
That was an Atletico result.
Oh, goodness me, what did I expect? Another one for you, John. Same person wants to know, is there any stopping Juventus? Straightforward question.
Quite honestly, probably not. I think it's more down to, if Napoli can get back on a run and keep winning games, then in theory they can at least push them further towards the end of the season. But if anyone is going to stop Juventus from winning the title this year, it's going to be Juve themselves. Because they're just relentless and they're so good at it. It's well done to Allegri for losing 3 big players in the summer and managing to restructure the team and keep that mentality going. It's really impressive. It's just what Juve always do. Winning is the most important thing.
Absolutely, well said, well said. Now, this one is a really difficult question, and it's aimed at all the panel, and it's going to be really difficult to get a short answer from you all. So I'm literally going to ask you to think fast off the top of your head. Nathan Young, who's at Young N8T, which young continental players should make an impact at the Euros? He's put the options of Batshuayi, Pret, or Conte. So, Drew, I'll start with you. Just off the top of your head, one name to look out for at the Euros.
Oh God, Yuri Tielemans.
And he is for Belgium?
Belgium, from Anderlecht.
Interesting, like it. Midfielder. John?
Oh, that's not fair. Bernadeschi? Yeah, I'll stick my neck out and say he's going to get in the squad.
Yeah, I really hope he does, because I'm totally with you. I think he's, what a talent. Tom?
Marcel Sabitzer for Austria.
Oh,
good one.
Interesting. Which kind of brings it to me. I'm really struggling. So I'm going to go with the answer that everyone expects me to say, but I'm going to say a fit and hopefully by then firing Nabil Fekir. I think everything's written for him to have a massive Euros, particularly for the host nation. And if it's not him, maybe stick an outside bet on Corentin Tolisso, who's also for Lyon. I think he's been exceptional this season. So
I was really waiting for you to say Yaya Sanogo then.
well, naturally, I mean, he is,
Charlton legend.
As someone asked us in the breakfast pod, is he man or machine? It is tough. It's tough to know, but God bless him. But that was strictly off the top of my head. I could probably give you 1,000 answers if I really sat down and thought about it, but a quick answer. Another quick question then. It's actually for me again. Speaking of Fekir, the second part of that Flygooners question was Nabil Fekir or Santi Cazorla or Ramsey, and that was in conjunction again with this kind of Arsenal-based question. So I'll kind of skate over that, just purely because obviously we want to try and keep it non-Arsenal, but I thought I'd give him a nudge for that question anyway. And the final question, this is again a little bit of an Arsenal-centric question, so I've kind of tweaked it, but I'll give the person a shout out. It's at Gundogan AFC, and his original question was, who do you seriously reckon can do a job at Arsenal and play some of the football that we played in the Cesc era? I'm going to change that question slightly, and I'm just going to ask people to give me a name of a player that they could see leaving their respective league, going to the Premier League and making the impact Cesc Fabregas has made. So it's a bit of a weird one. Tom, I'll start with you.
Oh, you bastard! I genuinely think that Benzema is going to be available in the summer, and I think a Premiership team could snap him up. So I think that because he is a good finisher of the ball, I really think he can make an impact in the Prem.
Fair enough. Drew, have you got maybe a midfielder, a technical type for the Bundesliga you could see that make an impact?
How did so many? If I had to, here's the thing. Again, I keep saying German players don't necessarily like to leave Germany, but you'd have to think that maybe like Mahmoud Dahoud could leave. He's been excellent for Gladbach, and he's.
Cry.
It's the sound of John crying.
Or
yes.
the other option.
If he turns up at Arsenal, I won't cry, but yeah.
The other player that could do it, I don't know if he would leave Germany, but Johannes Geis is, for me, one of the better overall central midfielders in Germany, if not Europe right now. So
Fair enough. John, you got somebody for Serie A?
Yeah, mine's pretty easy. It's Miralem Pjanic. He can go and play wherever he likes. Be really nice if he wants to join Inter, please. It's just, he's absolute class. He can run midfield, and he's good enough to get into the really, really big top sides as well. I suspect he might end up in Spain, sadly, but good news for Tom. But he could walk into a lot of Premier League sides straight away.
And to round it off, prick your ears up, John. I'm going to pull one from Serie A, actually, that I think is prime for a move.
Oh, hello.
He came on tonight. I think Dries Mertens is an excellent option for Premier League sides looking for a bit of creativity. Can play right, can play left, can play through the middle behind the front man. He's not had the best of luck, would it be fair to say, John, since his return to it from injury. But he's a constant substitute, and I think if somebody offered him a decent amount of money and the opportunity to play week in, week out, he'd find that hard to turn down. Would that be fair?
He's a very, very good super sub, like impact sub. The one problem he has, and the criticism he has levelled against him, is that when he starts games, he doesn't impact them enough. So I suppose it really depends what players leave and stay at Napoli in the summer, because he's still quite happy there at the moment under Sarri, but there is talk of players wanting to leave. Not him necessarily, but some of the bigger players in the team.
And Drew, do you want to come in quickly on that one?
I think John's spot on when he says that that's why Dries Mertens never really starts for Belgium. Mark Vilmot usually brings him on with between 20 and 30 minutes left, because he usually can come on and instantly get the flow of the match and affect proceedings. But I hate to say this, he could be that kind of player Spurs will go after, because there's already a big Belgian contingent there, but he does bring that added creativity to sort of take pressure off of Christian Eriksen being that only fulcrum of creativity they have. So I could see him going there, or someone like an Everton. You never know.
I could see that as well.
Yeah, I think Drew's spot on there. He's such a Spurs player, it's ridiculous.
That's just upset me a little bit. Okay, let's move on quickly from that before I cry. Right, before we leave, gentlemen, we've been given some homework, which I mentioned a while ago. It was from our friend of the pod, Dan, who's... oh, crikey, his Twitter handle escapes me. I shall have to look him up. There he is. He's Dan, at Dan_AFC90. I think it was Dan. Was it Dan that asked us this question? Oh, Christ. No, it probably wasn't. Anyway, whoever asked us this question, I'm sure it was Dan. I will look it up while we're doing this. Now, he or whoever it was asked us to name an 11 of players that we thought have improved with age. Now, I've gone over the top. I've asked our pundits to name squads.
It was Dan.
It was Dan. Phew, thank God for that. Thank you. There you go. Thank you, Dan. Give you credit where it's due. It was last week, so I've given all of you an opportunity to name your squads. I want you to just literally read the names off. I don't need any blurb. I just want you to read me the players and the positions they play in. Maybe give me the player name and the club they play for. We will put these up on our website, which has been changed, boys and girls. If you go to our website, hopefully by tomorrow, there is a new tab which now says Hipsters Requests. And what that tab is for is any of you that want us to put together an 11 or a squad of your choice, i.e. an under-21s, players of the future, players of now, players with ugly haircuts, whatever it is you want us to build, tell us, we will build it for you, and we will put it on that tab so you can look at it. So, Tom, to start with you again. Give us your Spanish or La Liga team of players that have got better with age.
Okay, so I've managed to do this with only one Barca Real player. So that player is my goalkeeper, and that's Bravo, the ex-Sociedad keeper, 32 years of age. Right back, I've gone for Carlos Martinez, a Sociedad one club man, 29 years of age. Two centre-backs, I've gone for Wellington of Malaga, 36 years of age, and Diego Godin, I can't really get around him, 30 years of age. Left back, one crystal like, I've got Trey Moulinas, 30 years of age at Sevilla. The two CDMs, I've got Trashuras at Rayo Vallecano, who's a 35, really calming influence on the pitch. And Bruno at Villarreal, who's 31 years of age, and he's just excellent for them. The centre midfielder in front of them is Gabi at Atletico Madrid, who's just brilliant, 32 years of age. Right wing, a bit of out there, but Celta Vigo's Oriana, 30 years of age, has definitely improved over his time in the La Liga league. So striker, can't go anywhere else but Ruben Castro at Real Betis, 34 years of age, scores 1 in 2, 200 appearances, 115 goals. Left wing, I've gone for Kron Deli at Sevilla, really underrated player. Really just gets the game going. And my bench is Lux of Deportivo, the goalkeeper, 33 years of age. Nolito, can't go anywhere else, 29 years of age. Charles at Malaga, 31 years of age. Gerpegui at the Bilbao centre-back, 35 years of age, over 300 appearances for the club. Juan Fran at Atletico Madrid, 31 years of age. Boca, the Ivorian left-back at Malaga, 32 years of age. And finally, another Atletico Madrid player in Thiago at 34 years of age.
Super. Love it. Thank you very much. There you go. Drew, do you want to do yours next? This is a Bundesliga side.
Sure. All right. So Manuel Neuer, 29 years old from Bayern Munich. Oscar Wendt, 30 from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Aitak Sulu, 30 years old from Darmstadt. Omer Toprak, 26 from Bayer Leverkusen. Viorina, 30 years old from Wolfsburg. Louis Holtby, kind of young, 25 for Hamburg, but he's a transformed player since going there. Philipp Lahm, 32 from Bayern Munich. Clemens Fitz, 35 from Werder Bremen. Solomon Kalou, 30 from Hertha Berlin. Alex Meyer, 33 from Eintracht Frankfurt. Raphael, 30 from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Rune Jahrstein, 31 from Hertha Berlin. Lucas Piszczek, 30 from Borussia Dortmund. Julian Julian Baumgartlinger, 28 years old. From Mainz, Arjen Robben, 32. Also from Bayern Munich, Fabian Johnson, 28 from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Raul Bobadilla, 28 from Augsburg, and Sandro Wagner, 28 also from Darmstadt. There you go.
Splendid. Thank you very much. John, there's a reason I've left you and I to last, because as the professionals that we are, we haven't written down the ages of our players. So we're just going to have to... We're just going to...
Oh, I've written mine down now.
Throw me under the bus, why don't you? Go on then. Get on with it.
I'd also like to say, just before I start, I'm really jealous because Drew gets to have someone from the Starship Enterprise in his team. In ITAC Sulu. That's amazing.
Very good.
Sorry. Terrible jokes tonight.
Get on with it.
So goalkeeper, it was easy. Best goalkeeper in the world, Gigi Buffon, 38. Leonardo Bonucci, Barzagli and Chiellini are the back three because that's how you're supposed to defend. 28, 34 and 31. Notice they're all from Juventus. Duan Basta, he's 31 years old, from Lazio. He's probably the oldest man in the team, actually, I think. Marcos Alonso had a very good and bad night tonight. 26, youngest player in the team, left back. Daniele De Rossi, 32, and Ricardo Montalivo are the two centre mids, 31 there from Montalivo. Franco Vasquez from Palermo, old friend of Paulo Dybala, got the best out of him at Palermo, 27 years old. And up front, I had to go for Eder, now of Inter, thankfully, and Gonzalo Higuain, who's having one of the best seasons of his career. For the bench, I've got Handanovic, 31, one of Chris's favourites, Bruno Perez, 25, of Torino, Boya Vallejo, another one I know Tom will be pleased with that, from Fiorentina. Captain Jack Bonaventura from AC Milan, 26 years old. Antonio Candreva from Lazio, 29. Jose Callejon from Napoli, 29. And for my one striker, it's very tough because they're all so good, but I had to go with Di Natale, 38 years old and still doing it.
Oh, good old Toto. You can never mention Toto enough. The man's just, love him. Okay, just leaves me then, so I will whip through my side. I have gone for, as I say, I apologise, I haven't written down the ages, but you can look them up, boys and girls. I've gone with Benoit Castile in goal from Rennes, right back Christophe Jallet of Lyon, centre backs are Perrin from St Etienne, and David Luiz, who might surprise a few, but he has got better with age. Whether it's better or not, I don't know, but in my opinion it is. He's a centre back. Maxwell, the PSG left back, he goes in. Holding midfield partnership, what about this for enforcement? Lasana Diarra, Thiago Motta. Ain't nobody messing with those two. Two wide men, I've got Hatem Ben Arfa. I think it kind of speaks for itself, his kind of form this season. And on the left-hand side, I love this player, 33 years of age, Julien Ferret. Absolutely joy to watch. Happy to have him in there. Up front, Valère Germain and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Kind of picks himself, doesn't he? As far as the bench, I've gone with Vakutra, the goalkeeper for Caen. I've gone with Loic Sana from Nantes. I've gone with Jeremy Toulalon, Jan Jouf of Lorient, Bessat of Caen, Danic of Troyes, and of Troyes, and Yatabare of Montpellier as the forward. So there you go. There's my lineup as well. So there we go, gentlemen. So thank you very, very much for that question, Dan. Certainly got us thinking, and I think it's fair to say that our hipsters kind of enjoy doing these. So if there are particular lineups, particular 11s you want us to do, as I say, ping us a tweet, and we'll do our very best, and hopefully we'll rattle through them quickly.
Not to brag, but I think my team would smash all of the other ones.
Jesus. Hey, I've got the best striker of any of you up front, so...
Well, actually, I've got the best striker in Europe this season.
I could have put Ronaldo in, I just didn't want to.
Excuses. Anyway, right, we are done, boys and girls. A couple of quick plugs for you. As I say, our website, www.thefootballhipsters.co.uk. Do nip up there. I have updated the Hipsters tab, so you can now see some lovely pictures of us. Particularly look out for Tom's. It's a beautiful picture of Tom looking rather confused.
I actually despise you.
I know, and I've given Drew enough stick tonight, so it's about time I shared the love. So if you want to see a picture of Tom looking at a webcam with a very confused look in his eye, go to our website and check that.
That does not represent my image whatsoever.
Unlucky. The joys of being in control. And obviously you can follow us at the FH Podcast for all of our regular tweets. I've started putting out a tweet for the Hipsters Choice now, where you can view their highlights and indeed their social media platforms, so have a look at that. We will tweet Team of the Week, and we will be back, of course, on Wednesday we'll be back. Myself and Ross will be back late Wednesday night as we will be doing a midweek English breakfast just to go through all the relevant Premier League action that happens this upcoming couple of days. And the final plug to mention is obviously Drew's Hall of Fame, which should return this week, all being well, scheduling aside. Drew, do you know who you're doing this week?
Yeah, it was supposed to be last week, so with Tori Andre Flo.
Ah, yes, of course, yeah. We should say last week the interview went up instead, so Drew had a very, very busy week, so these things happen. We do have lives. I know it's hard to believe, people, but we do. So that will go up this week. And the final thing to mention is the interview. Christian Nuri from Get French Football. If you like your French football, as I do have a listen to that. It's myself and Christian talking for about 40 minutes about all things in the French League. So that is it from us. We are done. As I say, do check us out. If you do like what we do, you know what to do. iTunes, leave us a review. We'll read you out on the podcast. Leave us some YouTube comments, and if we don't already follow you on the Twitter account, give us a poke, and I promise we will follow you back. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much to my panel, to John, to Tom, to Drew. Thank you, gentlemen.
Cheers, Chris.
No problem.
Anytime.
18 seconds. And that is us done for this week. Hashtag 18 seconds. That has been the Football Hipsters podcast, episode 20. Keep your beard strong and indeed your glasses trendy. And we'll speak to you on the breakfast pod in midweek and again on Sunday. And we'll be back with the pod on Monday.
Maxwell toujours pour frapper le corner. Oh, quel geste, l'égalisation de Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Andres Iniesta, se anima Andres. Andres tocó la evolución de Neymar, Messi.
Versucht alles aus sich rauszuholen, verfolgt von Schmelzer. Müller, vorbei an Weidenfeller. Müller, Bayern München ist Pokalsieger.
Che può battere Insigne con il destro a giro, Adelante, favoloso, si gonfia la rete, favoloso.